We are believers, we are teachers, we are all God's creatures. We are opening up the doors to our home. We cherish the moments when we see our children with faith burning strong, learning at their own paces, smiles on their glowing faces. We're caring for their education. Come and join our family at Eden Hope Academy.
Hello, welcome to Eden Hope Academy. We are on week 6. I'm so glad that you're with us. We're going to start with our Memorize Me part in our book right here. And are you coloring in your circles when you memorize it? I'm so glad. All right, so let's start with our Bible verse. And it is from Jeremiah 29:11. And it is, "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and hope. In those days when you pray, I will listen. If you look wholeheartedly for me, you will find me. I will be found by you, says the Lord. I will end your captivity and restore your fortunes. I will gather you out of the nations where I sent you and bring you back home again to your own land." I love that verse because that verse doesn't talk about the people of Israel as they're about to go through an easy time, saying, "I know the plans that I have for you, and they are to give you hope in the days and give you a future and hope." It's the time before they're actually going to go into captivity in Babylon. It's when Nebuchadnezzar comes to Jerusalem and besieges it or takes it over, and he either kills a lot of the people or he takes them back about 573 miles through the desert to Babylon, and they stay there as captives for 70 years. That's almost one person's full lifetime. Now, do you know who was one of those captives? Did you say Daniel? How about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Did you include those? Those were all captives as well. And so when Jeremiah was speaking here, he was saying, even though God is going to send us into captivity, even though it's going to be really, really hard, His plans are still good for us. His future for us is still good. He's still with us. And He's going to be with us through this difficult time. And it's just something for us to hold on to. And I'm sure that Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and many other people from this time held on to these words as well. And one of the links that I love regarding this passage is that sure enough, just as Jeremiah had said, the people went into captivity. But 70 years later, Cyrus redeemed them from captivity, allowed them to go back to their land of Jerusalem, and Cyrus was born on the very year that they were taken into captivity. So God knew that He was going to bring them back and redeem His people. And so the very year that the trials began, the Redeemer was born. And it's so great to see how God works and how He has everything planned for the good of those who believe in Him. So right here, I want you to draw a picture. And I want you to draw Jeremiah presenting this message to the hope to the terrified people of Jerusalem. And think about how they must have felt. So the next is the Declaration of Independence. "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and institute new government, laying its foundation on principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness." And that was written primarily by Thomas Jefferson, and it is the first part of the Declaration of Independence. And the Declaration of Independence was signed by John Hancock first in his big, bold letters, by many of our founding fathers. It was sent to King George III, and it was seen as a proclamation of war to King George III. But it was a document saying, this is what we believe, and this is what we stand for. So it's really important that we understand what our founding fathers believed about the country that we live in, that they were starting. Next is Ben Franklin coined the following terms regarding batteries. So he branded these words: battery, charge, condenser, conductor, plus, minus, and armature. Did he coin the words plus and minus? No, just about batteries. So I want you to think of something that you have invented around your house, and I want you to tell me the terms that you've come up with for your invention. Can you send me a picture of your invention? Could you do that? I would love to see it. And I'll even post it on our Facebook and our website if you'll send me a picture of your invention. Next is New England colonies are Rhode Island, which the capital is Providence, Connecticut, which is Hartford, Massachusetts is Boston. I was born in Worcester, Massachusetts, which is right outside of Boston, and Concord, New Hampshire. So if you were born in any of those cities or states, then post it, send a link to me or an email to me so that we can post it and say that you're from one of those places. We're going to go through the Declaration of Independence right now. The first box is, we hold these truths to be self-evident. That means it's obvious that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator, meaning God, with certain rights that should not be taken away. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So Thomas Jefferson actually got this line from John Locke. So that's a link when we're thinking about the Declaration of Independence to the Age of Enlightenment. And actually John Locke had written that that among these are life, liberty, and the ownership of land, I believe. I'll have to look that up. But it was just a little bit different. It was not the pursuit of happiness, and Thomas Jefferson changed it to the pursuit of happiness. So in this box, I want you to draw a picture of everyone being equal, and that God created us with the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, I want us to remember here that there were slaves during this time, and they were not counted as this. They were not put in this as everyone was equal. And so it wasn't really everyone was equal, and that was finally made right after the Civil War. And so we just need to remember those people as well. The next one is that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, meaning people make governments to help them, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, meaning that governments are there to support with the permission of the people. Does that make sense to you? So it's like we have police officers, and police officers protect us and they take care of us. We give them the right to do that. The people consent to them having authority in certain circumstances over us. And that's a good thing because we need them to protect us. So it is, they give the powers from the consent of the governed. The people give the government permission for what to do. Now, the opposite of that would be if the government was telling the people what to do all of the time. That would be the opposite of what the Declaration of Independence was saying. So right here, I want you to put in a picture of the people telling the government what to do. So maybe your person should be really big and the government should be small, because the people give the authority to the government, not the other way around. You can draw whatever you want, but that's just one thought. Okay, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive, meaning the government gets too big or it's telling the people to do things that the people don't think are right to do, of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. So we have the right in our Declaration of Independence, what Thomas Jefferson is saying, that if the government becomes destructive, then we have the right to alter it, to change it, or to get rid of it altogether and institute a new government, so form a new government. Laying its foundation, so it's telling us that if we form this new government, we are to lay its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as they shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. So in order for the people, if the government gets too intrusive, the Declaration of Independence is stating that the people have the right to change it so that they can feel more safe and that they can have a general well-being. So right here, I want you to decide what to put. Maybe you should ask your mom or dad what they would put there. That would be a really good one to have a discussion with your parents over. Now right here we have all purples, and my daughter really wanted purple dots this year, so we got to include some purple dots. And purple is for the colonies, and so it's these 13 colonies. Can you mark all of the purple colonies? So like Maine wasn't a colony, so we wouldn't mark Maine. So I want you to just color in the 13 colonies. Can you do that? Okay, let's do timeline cards.